What if I told you that the greatest shift of your life will not come from working harder, waiting longer, or chasing after what you want, but from something far simpler and far more profound? What if the entire distance between you and your deepest desires could collapse in an instant, the moment you change the way you see yourself? Today, I want to talk to you about a law that many have heard about but few dare to live by fully, the law of assumption. And no, this isn't about positive thinking. It isn't about repeating affirmations you don't really believe. This is about stepping into the identity of the person who already possesses what they want and living as them now. Think about that for a moment, not someday, not when the right circumstances finally arrive, not if everything lines up perfectly. Now, because the truth is, you don't create from waiting, you don't create from hoping. You create from being, and the being you choose to embody is exactly what the world reflects back to you. You see, your imagination is not a toy. It is not just daydreams floating in your head. Your imagination is the most powerful force you will ever encounter. It is the very spark of divinity inside you, the same force that architects cities, composes music, builds families, launches rockets, writes love stories, and shapes entire civilizations. Every single thing you see around you first existed in the imagination of someone who dared to assume it as real. So why are we so afraid to use this same force for ourselves? Why do we believe our lives must be governed by circumstances, by luck, by waiting for permission? The truth is, the only permission you ever needed was your own. You are the one who decides which version of yourself lives and which one dies. You are the one who decides whether you walk as someone in lack or as someone already fulfilled. And here's the paradox most people never recognize. You cannot hold two states at once. You cannot assume wealth while rehearsing poverty in your mind. You cannot assume love while constantly affirming loneliness. You cannot assume success while deep down preparing for failure. One identity must die for the other to live. And this is where most people struggle, not because the law doesn't work, but because they refuse to abandon the old self, the self that waits and hopes and doubts. So let me ask you, which self are you willing to let go of? The one who forever waits or the one who dares to assume? I want to share with you a simple yet life-changing principle. Assumption hardens into fact. Read that again. Assumption hardens into fact. What you deeply, consistently, and emotionally assume to be true eventually must manifest in your world. Not because of luck, not because the universe is merciful, but because consciousness itself is creative, and what you impress upon it with feeling, it must bring forth. Think about how this plays out in everyday life. Have you ever noticed how two people can walk through the exact same world, yet live in completely different realities? One person looks at their bank account, sees a number they don't like, and immediately declares, "I'm broke. Nothing ever works for me. Life is unfair." Another person, with maybe even less, wakes up each morning with an unshakable sense of gratitude and certainty that abundance flows to them. And sure enough, opportunities and resources begin to show up, seemingly from nowhere. The same world, two different assumptions, two completely different lives. That's how powerful this law is. The world bends to your assumption, not to your fears, not to your effort alone, but to what you assume and embody as already true. So how do you actually live this way? Let's get practical, because lofty ideas mean nothing if you can't apply them. The first step is morning assumption. When you wake up, before you scroll through your phone, before you let yesterday's problems flood back into your awareness, take a moment to decide who you are. If you desire wealth, don't just think about someday being wealthy. Wake up as the version of you who already has more than enough. Feel the quiet satisfaction of knowing your needs are met. If you desire love, wake up in the warmth of being loved and cherished. If you desire health, breathe into your body as though it is already strong and vibrant. That first 10 minutes sets the tone for your day. Use it wisely. The second step is midday vigilance. Life will test your assumption. Circumstances will show up to tempt you back into the old self. Maybe someone criticizes you. Maybe a bill comes due, maybe you feel lonely. In those moments, catch yourself. Do not slip into lack. Instead, say out loud if you need to, "That is not my reality. My reality is abundance. My reality is love. My reality is health." Refuse to feed the old self with your attention. Return instantly to your assumed identity. The third step is evening revision. Before you fall asleep, don't replay your day as it happened. Replay it as it would have happened if your assumption was fully real. If someone rejected you, imagine them embracing you instead. If you worried about money, replay the scene of easily paying your bills. Why? Because your subconscious doesn't distinguish between imagination and reality. It simply accepts what you feed it before sleep. And whatever you feed it, it multiplies. Morning assumption, midday vigilance, evening revision. These 3 steps, practiced daily, transform assumption from a concept into a lifestyle. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Some of you may be thinking, "This sounds like denial. This sounds like pretending." But it is. Pretending is when you know something isn't true and you try to convince yourself otherwise. Assumption is different. Assumption is recognizing that consciousness itself precedes reality, and therefore by choosing a new consciousness, you are choosing a new world. You are not ignoring reality, you are reshaping it. Let me share a story that illustrates this perfectly. Years ago, a man I knew was on the verge of being fired. His supervisors criticized him harshly, told him he was useless, and he was terrified of losing his job. A friend of his who understood this law sat quietly and imagined hearing the man say, "They praised me today. They told me I was valuable." He didn't tell anyone. He didn't interfere. He simply assumed that reality. Within 48 hours, everything flipped. The supervisors praised the man for his creativity and renewed his position. Same people, same company, completely different outcome because the assumption shifted. This is not magic. It is law. And here's where it gets deeper. Your subconscious mind only knows the present moment. It doesn't understand someday. It doesn't operate on if. It accepts only what feels real now. That's why assumption works. If you feel something as real in the now, your subconscious accepts it as fact and then orchestrates circumstances to match it. That's why Neville Goddard always said, "Feeling is the secret." It's not about shouting affirmations. It's about feeling what it would be like if your desire was already here and then quietly resting in that feeling. So ask yourself right now, how would I feel if it were already done? How would I walk if I already had it? How would I speak? How would I carry myself? And then do that. Don't wait for proof. Be the proof. Walk as the one who already is. Speak as the one who already has. Dwell as the one who already knows. And yes, there is a death required here, the death of the old self. The one who waited, doubted, hoped. That self cannot coexist with the new you. And maybe that's uncomfortable. Maybe it feels like letting go of an old friend. But that friend has kept you stuck for years. That friend is not your ally. The self who doubts, who plays small, who believes in lack, that self is an illusion. It was never truly you. It was only a costume. And today you get to take it off. From this moment forward, declare it with me. I sever the old self. I no longer wait. I no longer hope. I assume. I already am. And because I already am, I shall be. When you walk through life with this certainty, people will notice. They may not know what changed, but they'll feel it. They'll feel a shift in your presence, a quiet confidence that doesn't need to prove anything. And the world will rearrange itself around you, not because you forced it, but because you became the version of yourself who already had it all along. So let's end with a challenge. For the next 30 days, choose one desire. Not 5, not 10. 1. Assume it's already yours. Live from it, breathe from it, walk from it. Refuse to accept anything less in consciousness. And watch. Watch how life bends to meet your assumption. Watch how doors open, how people shift, how opportunities align. This isn't theory. This is your chance to prove it to yourself. Remember, you are not the one waiting. You are the one creating. You are not the seeker. You are the finder. You are not the one who hopes. You are the one who knows. And above all else, never forget, your imagination is God. Your assumptions are law, and what you assume in consciousness must eventually appear in your world. It is done. Walk like it's done. Live like it's done, because it is.